Hi folks, it's Jeanette, your personal diabetes coach. If you are looking for non-judgmental, non-boring diabetes coaching, then you're in the right place. If you're new here and you like what you see, make sure to click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when I upload new coaching content. In today's video, we are making breakfasts for the second week of January. Let's get started. Welcome back. I've set everything out that we need for our breakfasts for this second week of January. Last week we had a little bit more of a labor-intensive breakfast with the oatmeal, but this week we are going to simplify things a little bit and just have toast. It is going to be toast with some peanut butter and jelly. What you'll need for this really easy recipe is just some bread. We talked about bread in detail in our first shopping video, but what you really want to focus on for bread is getting 100% whole grain bread. You want to get bread that has the highest grams of whole grain as you can find. You also want the highest fiber and the highest protein. I like this particular bread because it comes in thin slices. So each one of these slices, I think it's 13 grams of carbohydrate, but it has 3 grams of fiber. So effectively they're about 10 grams of carbohydrate each. So 2 pieces of this bread is 26 grams of carbohydrate, or effectively about 20 grams. And because it has high fiber and high protein, it will slow down the absorption of the carbohydrate that's in the bread. So this is a really good option, but you can choose any high fiber, whole grain, high protein bread that you like or have access to. And you will need some peanut butter. You can get peanut butter from some of the natural grocery stores where you literally just put a bucket under it, pull the lever, and it grinds peanuts and puts them into a bowl. That is a fine way to do it. But I found this peanut butter that I really like. I like this brand. It does not have any added sugars or anything in it. Something to keep in mind with peanut butter, definitely look to see if there's any sugar added. You don't want a peanut butter with any sugar. It can be creamy or it can be crunchy. I have both of those here. It can also be the no stir or the stir kind. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I'll open these up. My creamy peanut butter is the no stir kind because that's just what they happened to have when I went to go get it. So you can see here that it's pretty solid. It just looks like regular old creamy peanut butter. The way that they do that, they use palm oil and mix it with the peanut butter to keep the oils from separating. If you're trying to avoid palm oil, then the no stir peanut butter would not be the best option for you. You would want to go with the kind that you need to stir. My crunchy peanut butter is just the regular where you have to stir it, so it does separate a little bit. And again, this is just what they had available for crunchy peanut butter, and it doesn't really matter to me. I don't know if you can see that, but you can kind of see it's a little looser, and there's a little bit of oil up at the top. I keep it stirred up pretty well, but I do stir it again every time I use it. So either no stir, crunchy, non-crunchy, doesn't matter. Whatever you prefer. For our jelly portion of our peanut butter and jelly, I'm going to do 2 options. One, I'm going to make some jelly. It's not really jelly. I would call it more of a berry spread or like a berry sauce. And the only thing that's in it are just some dried mixed berries and a little bit of cornstarch to get it to thicken up a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and make this in the video so you can kind of see what it should look like, but there's really not much to it. You can also add just a little bit of sweetener if you'd like. You can use a non-nutritive sweetener like stevia or something like that. You could put a little bit of maple syrup in it. You could put a little bit of regular sugar in it or some honey, although honey is not vegan. So for January, we'd want to stay away from honey. So that's one thing we're going to put on top. And then I also just have some raspberries and some strawberries here. These were just left over from some fruit that I got for snacks. So a couple of the days this week, I will probably just cut up some of these and just throw it right on top as the jelly portion. The ingredients for this week are pretty simple. That's all you need. So let's go ahead and start on our jam. To make the jam for our peanut butter and jelly toast, you will need a saucepan. You will need some frozen berries. They can be whatever berries you like. These are just mixed berries. You can also use any extra berries that you have in your refrigerator that might not last for the rest of the week. You can certainly throw those in as well. You will also need a little bit of cornstarch as the thickener and just some water. So the first thing you want to do is open up your berries and just empty it into your saucepan. I would start out with just about 1/4 cup of water, especially if you're using frozen berries. As they thaw out, they are going to release some water as well. If you end up with a little too much liquid, it's okay. You'll just have to boil it longer to boil that liquid off. It's not a problem and it won't really hurt anything. I'm going to start with just about 1/4 teaspoon of cornstarch. Again, you can always add more, but if you add too much, you can't take it out, and then you could end up with kind of a more pasty jam than you would like. But you really can make this a couple times and figure out exactly how much you need to get the consistency that you prefer. Our jelly is all done. I ended up not adding any more water. It took about 15 or 20 minutes total to get to the consistency that I wanted. You can kind of play with this and figure out how long you need to cook it to get the consistency that you like. And keep in mind that once it cools, it is going to thicken a little bit. So you'll want to stop cooking a little bit before it gets to the consistency that you prefer. And then once it's done, I just put it in a little jelly jar. We're not canning this or anything, so you don't have to sanitize these. It really is just a container, but it's nice to have it in a pretty jam jar in your refrigerator. It smells so good. And it really is just frozen fruit, no sugar added, with a little bit of water and a little bit of cornstarch. So eating this jelly is just like eating fruit. And the nice thing about berries is that they're actually really low in carbohydrates and also low on the glycemic index. So you're not going to notice a really large spike in your blood sugar with this. Plus, we're not using much. So it's a really good option to feel like you're getting some jelly, but it's actually pretty healthy for you. I would recommend to serve this to even your friends who don't have diabetes or who aren't worried about carbohydrates. I'm sure they will absolutely love it. So I'm just going to finish getting this all into its container and we'll put it all together. Man overboard. There we go. Like it never happened. Now we have our jelly already in our container. I am going to make my toast and make a cup of coffee, and then we'll meet back here and we'll see what everything tastes like. Ready. Now we have everything ready to put together. I did go ahead and cut up some strawberries and got out some raspberries. I may throw these on top of my toast or I may just eat them separately. They're really low on the glycemic index. They don't have a lot of carbohydrates, so you don't really need to count these in everything if you do that and you don't want to. But you can for sure if you're really counting calories or you want to be very specific. When I'm trying to be very careful with my portioning, I like to use something like this for my peanut butter and jam. This is a 1 tablespoon scoop. It can be really helpful just to get an idea of what 1 tablespoon looks like. Once you're able to eyeball it just on its own, that's fine. But if you want to be really careful or if you want to be very precise, you can use a scoop like this. I am going to make a couple of different versions of toast here. So first, I am going to use the creamy peanut butter. And I am going to use my scoop to get my 1 tablespoon. I have the calories and everything worked out for this to do about 3 tablespoons, so about 1.5 tablespoon of peanut butter per each slice of bread. I'm gonna make 1 with creamy and 1 with crunchy, which is what I usually do, which is why I have both in my cabinet. So we're gonna do 1 tablespoon, and then I'm just gonna eyeball about another 1/2 tablespoon of the creamy. And this crunchy is the one that doesn't have the palm oil in it, so you have to stir it. So just give it a good stir. It's also a little more loose, which I don't mind. I actually kind of like it. It doesn't bother me at all. So I'm gonna get my 1 and about 1/2. The calorie content, the carbohydrate content, the protein, fiber, everything is exactly the same between these two. So it doesn't really matter which one you use or if you use both. You will want to make sure that if you're going to do the calculation and you're not using these exact peanut butters, that you do the calculation with your peanut butter. The numbers that I'm going to give you later are specific to these peanut butters and also the bread. I am also going to use the scoop for the jelly, so I'm going to set that right there and as you can see, 1.5 tablespoons of peanut butter is quite a bit of peanut butter, so you don't have to use that much if you don't want to. But remember, I mean, it's just 2 pieces of toast for a whole breakfast, so you will want to make sure that you're getting enough that you're feeling satisfied. I'll save a little bit. I will dip those in that later. And now we are going to do about 1 tablespoon of jam on each one. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. And it smells amazing. And then I'm just gonna take my spoon and mush it around. You could certainly have this as a sandwich. I like to have it as just 2 pieces of bread. I don't know, maybe it makes me feel like I'm eating more. But this is a really, really filling breakfast. You can even use this as a lunch because, I mean, technically it really is just a peanut butter and jelly. So that's all done. And I am going to take just a couple of the fresh fruit pieces and put it on there too. And then this one, I will put the raspberries. So I made myself a coffee. This is an Americano. I don't put anything in it. I just drink it black. Take a sip. I am a huge fan of coffee. All right, so here is our breakfast. I don't know if you can see that, but I will do a shot overhead too so you can kind of see what it looks like. But let's see what it tastes like, which is the most important thing. So first I'm going to try the creamy peanut butter with the homemade jam and strawberries. The jam on there is just so, even though it was made with frozen berries, it tastes so fresh. It's got a little bit of tartness to it. It really doesn't need sugar, but like I said, when you make it, You can add a little bit or some fake sugar like stevia or something like that, but it really doesn't need it. So I highly recommend the first time you make this, just to make it as is, and I really think you'll like it. So let's try this one with the crunchy peanut butter and raspberry. So good. That one's my favorite, and it's because of the crunchy peanut butter. I don't even know why I get creamy peanut butter, and I eat it too. I usually make one of each, but I really prefer the crunchy. So I am just going to finish this up. I will take a shot so you can see what it looks like from the top, because it's actually also really pretty. And then we'll meet back here and go over some numbers. Let's go over some numbers. First of all, the bread that we used was 26 grams of carbohydrate. The peanut butter ended up being about 5 grams of carbohydrate, and the jam was about 2 grams of carbohydrate. Remember, because of what we chose, even the bread, these are going to be lower on the glycemic index. In fact, the fiber content of this entire meal is about 9 grams of fiber. So we can subtract that from the total amount of carbohydrates, which is 33, and it ends up feeling more like about 24 grams of carbohydrate. So you may find that this meal doesn't particularly affect your blood sugar as much as, say, a regular peanut butter and jelly sandwich would. This meal also contains about 14 grams of protein, which is a really good amount of protein for a breakfast. This meal also contains about 17.5 grams of fat. Most of that fat is coming from the peanut butter. So remember, those are going to be healthy fats from nuts. So there's a big difference between eating 17.5 grams of fat in, say, a nice, healthy, natural peanut butter versus 17.5 grams of fat of something like butter. So this is a much healthier option. All right, so that was all of the numbers. I am going to go ahead and finish my breakfast and my coffee. If you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a like so other people can find it too, and we'll see you in the next video.